a blind muscular tube of about 5 to 15 centimeter in length, and it is present in the right lower quarter of the abdomen. It is an intraperitoneal organ with a retrocecal position. It is supplied by appendicular artery, which is a branch of the ileocecal artery, and appendicular vein joins the posterior cecal vein. Lymphatic drain into the ileocecal lymph nodes. Here are the different position. Most up to 70% the appendix lies in the retrocecal position in this 11 o'clock position, and up to 70%, and up to 20% in the pelvic position. And these are the clock position. If you consider like the dial of a clock, it will be easy that this is the 1 or 2 o'clock position, and 1 or 2 o'clock position, this is 5 o'clock position, 6 o'clock position, 11 o'clock position, and so on. So these are the different position. A surgeon knows better when he's going to operate upon a patient. So our basic topic is acute appendicitis. As you know from the 4th year MBBS level, that acute appendicitis, it is acute inflammation of the vermiform appendix. It is called acute appendicitis. So if you compare this, the appendix lies at the cecal level, and it is attached to the cecum, and this is the panoramic view of the appendix. So this is the normal appendix, and this is the inflamed appendix. That's we call it acute appendicitis. So why it happens? The question arises that why it happens. Though the exact etiology of the acute appendicitis is not known, but however, acute appendicitis is associated with bacterial proliferation. The initiating event is usually obstruction of the appendicular lump, which may be because of the fecula, because of the lymphoid hyperplasia that lies in the submucosal layer, or because of the calculi, and the parasite can lead to acute appendicitis. Pathophysiology. So it is related to the mucosal inflammation. Appendix has all the layer of the normal gut. So it is related to the mucosal inflammation and submucosal lymphoid hyperplasia, which is due to viral or can be bacterial. And lymphoid hyperplasia leads to narrow the lumen of the appendix and ultimately obstruction. Once the obstruction occurs, continuous secretion, mucus secretion, and inflammatory exudate increases the intraluminal pressure, obstructing the lymphatic drainage. Then edema and mucosal ulceration develops with bacterial translocation to the submucosa. Further distension of the appendix may cause venous obstruction and ischemia of the appendicular wall. So bacterial invasion occurs through the muscularis propria and submucosa, producing acute appendicitis. So this is a little bit about the pathophysiology of the acute appendicitis. In clinical feature, first we talk about the symptoms. Abdominal pain. Pain can be started in the periumbilical region, can be in the epigastric region, and direct in the right iliac fossa. But from the periumbilical region or from the epigastric region, ultimately it migrates to the right iliac fossa within few hours. And the onset is usually sudden. In addition to pain, it is anorexia with associated with anorexia, nausea, vomiting. Most patients give a history of constipation before the onset of pain. Sometimes diarrhea can occur, especially in the children, or the pelvic or the appendix position is in the pelvis, and it is also associated with the low-grade fever. These are all the symptoms which will be mentioned by the patient himself. As long as the signs of appendix are concerned, tenderness in the right iliac fossa, classically at the McBurney point. So McBurney point is an imaginary a point that lies at the lateral 1/3 and middle 2/3 of an imaginary line between the anterior superior iliac spine, right side, and the umbilicus. So if you draw a line from the umbilicus up to the anterior superior spine on the right side, and you divide into 3 parts, then lateral 1/3 and the middle 1/3, at this point, this is the McBurney point, which is the point of maximum tenderness. And rigidity over the right iliac fossa will be there. Rebound tenderness. Once you push and then you leave it, tenderness again will occur, and the patient will guard the region to avoid pain. So the signs which are helpful in supporting the diagnosis are pointing signs. The patient himself will tell you the area of maximum pain, that he will point with his finger that this is the site of maximum tenderness. Other sign are rowing sign, continuous. Actually, when you exert pressure on the in the left inguinal and the left iliac fossa, the patient will feel pain in the right iliac fossa. This is a rowing sign. Swa sign is in the right lower quadrant, pain that is produced with the patient extending the hip and due to inflammation of the peritoneum overlying the muscle, psoas muscle. The patient would like to lie in the right hip flex to relieve the pain. Sometimes we have seen the patient, because of this posture, to keep the right hip flex, develop stricture. I have seen myself in my ward, and that was a female patient lying on bed number 34. If someone has seen our ward, you will know. So the patient avoid extending the right hip joint. Obturator sign. So passive flexion of the internal rotation of the hip causes pain in the hypogastric region. It occurs because of contact of the inflamed appendix with the obturator internus muscle. No differential diagnosis. Remember, the differential diagnosis are different at different ages and also associated with age and sex. So the differential diagnosis of pain in the right iliac fossa, it can be because of the gastroenteritis, can be because of the mesenteric lymphadenitis, Meckel's diverticulitis, and intussusception, scolin purpura. This is skin and mucosal problem with submucosal and subdermal bleeding, but it is also associated with abdominal pain. So you should remember these things. And in children, though the lungs are far away from the right iliac fossa, but lobar pneumonia can sometimes present with a pain in the right iliac fossa. So this is different. If you get a chance and see Bailey and Love, book 30 or 23. There is a very beautiful diagram about this. Nowadays, the edition of Bailey and Love is 27, but in 23rd edition, this is a very beautiful diagram about the differential diagnosis. So that was the differential diagnosis in children. Now the differential diagnosis in adults. Regional enteritis, ureteric colic. Remember this. In case of acute appendicitis, the patient would guard the muscle if you exert pressure in the right iliac fossa, but the differentiating point between the ureteric colic and the acute appendicitis, the patient would preferably exert pressure in the right lumbar region. With the exertion of the pressure over the right lumbar region, the pain will be relieved. But as long as the acute appendicitis and the cholecystitis are concerned, the patient will avoid exerting pressure. Evenly, sometimes the sonologists mention in their own findings that the probe sign is positive. The patient does not like to have the probe of the ultrasound in the right iliac fossa. So these are the this is all about the ureteric colic and the acute appendicitis, so that you can remember. And the perforated peptic ulcer can present because when perforation occurs, the acidic secretion of the stomach directly comes in the right through the right gutter in the right iliac fossa. You will think that this acute appendicitis. But remember one thing, this is very important. If you are in periphery and you are a medical officer or physician, you are not a surgeon, you should not give any analgesic to the patient so that it can be properly examined by the surgeon and avoid the complication. And if you give analgesic, the pain will be masked, so you should avoid. And testicular torsion, especially when right side undescended testes and torsion occur, you will be confused that this may be acute appendicitis, and the pain is sharp, very severe pain, and is sudden. Acute pancreatitis can also present a pain in the right iliac fossa, and right rectus sheath hematoma, sometimes because of the trauma, or sometimes trauma to the right at the epigastric artery, hematoma develops. You may be confused. So these are the differential diagnosis of acute appendicitis in adult. As long as in female, Mittel-Schmerz sign. You should not confuse with the name. Actually, mid-cycle pain in female. When ovulation occurs in females, then there is a little bit pain, especially when it is on the right side. But Mittel-Schmerz sign will be different according to the cycle of the menses. So it is usually 14 days before the next cycle. Pain will be there. Pelvic inflammatory disease in female, pyelonephritis, and ectopic pregnancy. And if the ectopic pregnancy is ruptured, the pain will be sudden, acute, and severe. And the patient can develop shock because of the hypotension, too much bleeding occurs. Torsion or rupture of the ovarian cyst. Torsion of the ovary itself, torsion of the ovarian cyst, and rupture of the ovarian cyst. Endometritis. Remember, endometriosis, this occurs with the menstruation. The Mittel-Schmerz sign is in the middle of the menstrual cycle or 14 days before the next cycle, while in endometriosis, when menstruation occurs, pain will be there. Endometriosis, when the endometrial epithelium lies outside the uterus. So you should not be confused. And differential diagnosis in elderly people. So diverticulitis. In diverticulitis, Meckel's diverticulum can be the underlying cause, and there is a condition, diverticulosis. Multiple diverticuli are on the colon, on the gut, from the esophagus up to the rectum. So inflammation of the diverticuli can lead to this pain, especially in the right iliac fossa. Intestinal obstruction can also present colonic carcinoma. These are the differential diagnosis in elderly people. Mesenteric infarction and leaking aortic aneurysm. This is a very critical condition, and God forbid, once it ruptures, it does not give a chance for a person to reach to hospital, especially cardiac surgeon or general surgeon who can control these things. So once we studied the anatomy, the pathophysiology, the signs, symptom, the differential diagnosis, what will be our next step is the investigation. Majority of the patient with acute appendicitis have polymorph nuclear leukocytosis, and the white cell count will be more. Though we have mentioned over here that 14,000, but if someone has a leukocyte count of 5,000 and it reach up to 10, this is significant. And if someone has a leukocyte count of normal of 10,000 or 11,000 and it reaches 14,000, this is quite significant. Urine analysis to exclude UTI and pregnancy test, especially this is very important in females. A radiograph, X-ray abdomen, spine posture when clinical suspicious of intestinal obstruction, urethral colic due to pain, and erect X-ray abdomen erect posture to see gas under the dome diaphragm for a perforated viscus. Ultrasound can be used to make the diagnosis of acute appendicitis with high level of sensitivity, and can also be useful to differentiate between abscess, mass, lump, perforation, peri-appendicular fluid. So ultrasound is also very useful, and the cynologist can, and in their findings, can tell about the probe sign. And especially in female, to rule out twisted ovarian cyst, ectopic pregnancy, rupture of the ectopic pregnancy. And CT scan is very important in old age patient, especially when there are suspicious of malignancy, tuberculosis, mass, diverticulosis. So a contrast scan of the abdomen is most useful in patients when there is diagnostic uncertainty, particularly older patients in whom acute diverticulitis, intestinal obstruction, neoplasm are the differential diagnosis. In old age patient, you should be quite careful before going to operate upon a patient. Thorough examination, experience, and CT scan with IV and oral contrast will be quite significant, and evenly colonoscopy as well. So this is a score that's called Alvarado score. It gives a clear concept about to make a decision about the surgery. So there are some symptoms, signs, and laboratory investigation. First of all, migratory right iliac fossa pain. It has got 1 score. Anorexia got 1 score. Nausea and vomiting got 1 score. Tenderness in the right iliac fossa is quite significant. It has got 2 score. Rebound tenderness 1 score. Elevated temperature 1 score. Leukocytosis has got 2 score. And shift to the left, especially the polymorph. So total are 10 number. So if the total score is from 1 up to 4, then you should be careful that this is not acute appendicitis. It is from 5 to 7, there is suspicious of acute appendicitis and your clinical experience. And if it is more than 7, sure shot 100% clear that this acute appendicitis, you should not wait. You should proceed for surgery to do appendectomy. And complication of the appendix, acute appendicitis, there can be appendicular mass, if it is not properly picked up by the doctor. Appendicular abscess, this is a late stage from the mass, and generalized peritonitis when this abscess ruptured. Intraperitoneal abscess formation, fecal fistula when the perforation is at the base and the cecal perforation occur and it can develop fistula. Recurrent intestinal obstruction due to adhesion formation, portal empyema, and when this infected region is drained to the portal vein, empyema can develop, and overwhelming sepsis, very critical, severe abscess can occur. So, what to do? The management include either we should do open appendectomy, that is conventional appendectomy, or laparoscopic appendectomy. In open appendectomy, we approach through the grid iron incision. And the grid iron incision, you should not be confused. Actually, as I mentioned, you remember that an imaginary line from the anterior ciliac spine on the right side to the umbilicus at middle 1/3 and lateral 1/3. This is the McBurney point, and this grid iron incision is an incision perpendicular to this line at McBurney point, and the middle of the grid incision will be at the McBurney point. So we open the skin, the subcutaneous tissue. In the skin subcutaneous tissue, external oblique in the line of incision, while the internal oblique we split the fibers. We can also do make a lens incision. No, as I mentioned you before, no, this is the anterior superior spine, this is the umbilicus, and this is an imaginary line. So this from here up to here, this is the grid iron incision, and this is the lens incision. In lens incision, we give at the McBurney point in 2 inch below the 2 centimeter below the umbilicus. It is very cosmetic incision, and there is another incision. In this, all the layers are divided in the line of incision. There is another incision, modified lens incision. We give only the skin incision in this direction, while the rest of the procedure will be like the grid iron incision. So, Rutherford Morrison incision. Actually, sometimes the appendix lying at high position, sometimes only up to the right hepatic flexure, the cecum will be elevated. In that condition, we extend the grid incision upward and laterally by oblique muscle cutting incision. Muscles are cut upward and laterally with its lower end over the McBurney point. All layers are divided in the line of incision. So, post-operative complication. These are because of surgery. So the wound can be infected when the appendix is perforated or pus formation over there. A respiratory problem can be because of the anesthesia. Paralytic ileus can develop. Intra-abdominal abscess formation can happen. But when we suspect intra-abdominal abscess formation, we put a drain. Venous thrombosis and embolism, portal empyema, fecal fistula, and adhesive intestinal obstruction. This is a late complication. Thank you. So, this was all about the acute appendicitis, but we are supposed to discuss the tumor of appendix. Tumor of appendix include, so we are least interested in the anatomy because we discussed the anatomy before. So, tumor can be benign, can be malignant. Number one, mucocele. Primary adenocarcinoma of the appendix. cyst, adenocarcinoma of the appendix, and carcinoid tumor. We will discuss one by one and their management, what to do and how to manage it. What is actually. So, mucocele. Mucocele occurs when proximal end of the lumen of the appendix. Proximal means the base of the appendix gets slowly and completely occluded, usually by fibrous structure and fibrous stricture causing collection of sterile fluid. Remember, when there is mucosal layer, there will be mucus secretion. Now, if the fibrous stricture is developed and mucus secretion occurs, so there will be retention cyst. It can be non-neoplastic, it can be neoplastic. Appendix is grossly enlarged with the feature of subacute appendicitis. Mucocele can get infected, leading to empyema of the appendix. Mucus collected, cyst formation develop. If it become infected, empyema will develop, and when this mucocele rupture can lead to pseudomyxedema peritonitis, and neoplastic type cause generalized cyst pseudomyxedema peritonitis. Actually, this is nothing in malignant condition. When the mucocele secretion have malignant cell, so when it become a rupture and it involve the local region, can be localized or can involve the whole abdomen, the whole omentum and the gut. So pseudomyxedema peritonitis. It's a jelly-like mucoid, yellowish brown substance accumulate in the peritoneal cavity. Can be localized, can be generalized. In localized means in the right iliac fossa, while generalized involving the whole abdomen. And it is due to rupture of the adenocarcinoma, appendix, or mucocele, or mucinous carcinoma of the ovary. This is common in female, and there is painless progressive distension of the abdomen with intestinal obstruction can cause some time. In this shifting dullness will not be there. It is a gel-like mucoid substance. It is not a fluid-like as we see shifting dullness in the ascites, but in this case, shifting dullness will be absent. What to do with the pseudomyxedema peritonitis? We do surgical debulking and oophorectomy, appendectomy, sometimes omentectomy as well. But nowadays there is another hyperthermic chemotherapy, intraperitoneal chemotherapy. This is throughout Pakistan occur, and we do in War 2. But for that, a perfusion machine is needed, and we have got successful results for pseudomyxedema peritonitis. So, this another condition, primary adenocarcinoma. Though this is rare, can be mucinous type or can be colonic type. Mucinous type has good prognosis, can be present as acute appendicitis in colonic type. Cyst adenocarcinoma. Though it is rare, its presentation often delayed until the patient has gross abdominal distension as a result of pseudomyxedema peritonitis, which may resemble ascites. So, but most of the time, these malignant condition present with like acute appendicitis. When we do surgery, when we do appendectomy, we have suspicious in this situation, and then we definitely do biopsy. It is a rule that whenever you remove some tissue from the body, you should do histopathology. So during surgery, sometimes spillage can occur. So carcinoid tumor, this is very common. Tumor of the appendix, and its ratio is 1 in 400 appendectomy. Though it is not very aggressive, the usual site is distal 1/3 of the appendix. Distal means towards the tip. Is asymptomatic, usually found incidentally intraoperatively. How to investigate? Ultrasound abdomen, CT scan and MRI. But most of the time appendicular tumors are found intraoperatively. As I told you before, the during surgery we have suspicions that there is something wrong, and we do definitely histopathology, and histopathology will give you the 100% confirmation of biopsy and the malignancy. So CT scan, MRI, as I told you, in old age patient, and you feel the mass, then you should not proceed just for appendectomy. You should do CT scan with IV and oral contrast. There is chance of malignancy, then you should be prepared for further management. With the further management, I will tell you, all primary tumor of the appendix should be treated by doing the right hemicolectomy. Though in the you can see the appendix that only appendectomy will not be sufficient, irrespective of their size and location, except in case of carcinoid tumor and mucocele. The mucocele, if it is benign, then there is no need for right hemicolectomy. And carcinoid, I will tell you in other slide how to proceed. If carcinoid tumor is found in the tip of the appendix and the size is less than 2 centimeters, only appendectomy can be sufficient. If this carcinoid tumor is in the base of the appendix and the size is more than 2 centimeters, then it also need right hemicolectomy. In case of simple mucocele, simple appendectomy is sufficient. So you should concentrate, please, on this diagram. Though this is not available, if intraoperative, we can have frozen section. In a developed country, when they have suspicious of malignancy, they send on the spot biopsy frozen section to the histopathology department, and they give the result within half an hour. The surgeon will have to wait till the frozen section come. No, this can be either if the pathology shows carcinoid, if the pathology shows that this is a adenocarcinoma, mucinous carcinoma, cyst adenocarcinoma, or mixed carcinoid tumor, or adenocarcinoma, then straightforward right hemicolectomy. Right hemicolectomy. If the frozen section shows that this is carcinoid tumor, for the carcinoid tumor, there are two options. Number one, if the tumor is greater than 2 centimeters, again right hemicolectomy. If the tumor less than 2 centimeters, then there are two options. If the tumor is limited to the tip of the appendix, simple appendectomy, and if the tumor involving the base of the appendix, though the size may be small one, again right hemicolectomy. Right hemicolectomy if the base is involved, or if these are the types of the malignancies. And if the tumor is more than 2 centimeter, only in one condition, appendectomy